All right, guys. So today we have Adrian Grenier on the podcast. And you're waving over there. Of course, for my generation of people, he's always going to be like Vincent Chase, Entourage, obviously. But you've done a lot of stuff. You're also an activist. You are a social entrepreneur. You have like a venture fund.
Yep.
You've kind of like done a lot of things since those days from Entourage and transformed kind of.
Always evolving. That's right.
Yeah. Always evolving. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to go through all of this, but thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Can we just start? Because obviously my generation, like I said, we remember you on Entourage, but that wasn't actually your first real big thing, right? Like you've been acting for many years prior to that, right?
I mean, it's all relative. People ask, when did you make it? And like, how do you define that?
Yeah.
Without question, Entourage was a certain volume, certain density of celebrity, of success. But yeah, I'd been in films before that, a lot of indie films, Sundance style, and also some pop movies, teeny boppers. So I was writing both sides. I was, a Sundance darling and then also getting my hands in Hollywood.
How old were you when you got the Vince role though? You were
28.
28.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did that even come to be? Like, how did it go? Because you were doing I remember you actually doing like indie films, and you also like are behind the camera a lot too.
Yeah.
Were you doing that then too?
Yeah. I fancied myself an artiste.
Right.
So I was getting my hands into all sides of the camera. But, growing up in New York with my friends, in order to stay out of trouble, we used to make films. Or we'd get into trouble and then film it. I don't know how you want to look at it. But yeah, we used to make little movies on Hi8 video. And that would be our Friday night, sometimes a whole weekend. And we'd write it. And then depending on what was needed, we'd all play the different characters. And sometimes we'd hold the camera. Sometimes we'd hold the boom. If it called for it, someone would climb the building and get that high shot, So for us, it was just a matter of accomplishing the goal of making a film and collaborating without necessarily defined roles. So I had experience from all sides of the camera as well as acting.
And you did you go also to performing school? Like you went to like a performing arts school, right?
Right. Well, then that's another layer. In New York, public schools are pretty,
right.
They're not, they leave something to be desired.
Right.
And there are 4 specialized high schools that you have to take tests to get into. And they're public schools, so they're free, but they are, a little bit better caliber than the other ones. So everybody wants to go. So I, of course, auditioned for the music and art high school, which is called LaGuardia, and then they have science and Brooklyn Tech and Stuyvesant and a few other specialized schools. And I ended up going for theater. And
so, okay, by the way, I'm just curious, what do you guys do in the performing arts school, like as a high school versus
dance on tables?
Yeah, is that really what you do? Yeah, because I mean, do you guys still do like math and social studies and all that other stuff?
Oh, yeah. So half the day is theater, and then the other half are core curriculum. So English, social studies, and I don't know, do they call it social studies? History?
I'm Canadian. That's what we called it back in Canada.
Yeah, we did too.
Geography, I don't know what you call it.
Literature and English and science, all the things.
All those things.
Yeah, and but we got to also be creative half the day as well. So in fact, I used to turn in assignments as films. In high school.
Really? Are you allowed to do that? I guess with
we asked. We asked, and we were given permission. So I remember we made a film about the brain, and we did a stop motion animation of the brain. So we showed what happens with a stimulus and as it goes up the brainstem into, the prefrontal cortex and the whole thing. And so that was all in claymation that we did. And then we wove it into a story that we acted in, where my friend played the mad scientist and he was going to explain the brain, but we needed a brain. So then took a knife and then cut my other friend Damien's head open, and then we had all this fake blood, and we, very typical of a angst-ridden 90s teenager. So we made a fun film that was bloody and gory, but educational.
At the same time, did you do
Edutainment.
well? Did you get an A?
Yeah, I mean, of course, everybody loved it. As opposed to the boring,
right?
Just the facts, book report or science report. Yeah.
Wow. So wow, I went to the wrong high school. I went to a private Jewish school, obviously very different than what you did, but yours sounds way more fun and way more exciting. So then, how did you kind of get your first your first thing? Like, did you have an agent? Did you you grew up with your mom, correct? Like your mom raised you, a single mom, right?
Single mom, only child.
Right.
Yeah.
And so was she into the acting? She was. I remember you saying on something I watched you, she was very much a hippie, right? Like she was very much into.
She didn't like the title hippie. She was more self-identified as a flower child.
What's the difference?
She saw hippies as all the druggies.
Oh, okay, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But she was more into the love aspect, of the summer of love.
The summer of love, exactly. Yeah. And then, how did you get into your first role? Did you have just walk me through what you would?
Yeah, well, in high school, before high school, in junior high school, I didn't grow up with my father. Just obviously single mom,
right?
Only child, and so there was an edge that I hadn't been. There was a rite of passage into an edge that I didn't have. So I gravitated more towards the touchy-feely artists types more than the rough and tumble sports. So instead of, I tried the sports, but I was too sensitive. I was very sensitive. It was, cancer and mama's boy. And so the idea of getting out with the guys and throwing baseballs and getting into fights, sort of was abrasive to me in the way that I was raised. But when I got into theater and everybody wanted to hear what you had to say and feel, show empathy, and then we could actually communicate and share what was inside, that to me felt most comfortable.
Right.
And
so you didn't play sports as a
no
at all.
No,
football,
I mean
baseball.
Some street ball with my friends,
right?
But they were friends that, that was later in life. I had, and in fact, since then I'd been on a long journey of becoming a little bit more edgy in my masculine body,
right,
being a little bit more aggressive, using that testosterone to go out and move the world and shape the world. I was very passive growing up and very shy. And it wasn't until I got on stage that I started to really come out of my shell.
Right.
And then, of course, caught the eye of some producers and agents. And for the longest time, they were pushing me to come to Hollywood. And I resisted for 10, 12 years until finally Entourage forced me to come.
Forced you to come. It's so funny because people would think of that. Most people, right? You would think would be jumping at that chance, right? Because you'd think that a lot of people, you have to have a big break like that to be considered, quote unquote, a successful actor, right? And you kind of seem like you resisted that a lot because of all that stuff you just said.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something in my soul. It's my dharma to resist convention.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of, I think, pitfalls to the way our consumer capitalistic lifestyle is sort of beckoning us, forward. And I think we lose a lot. That doesn't mean I haven't certainly fallen for the shiny objects in the world and gone for that. In fact, I represented it on a show called Entourage.
Exactly.
It was basically a reflection of our culture and our consumerist culture. But deep down inside, I never really felt satisfied with that. I thought there was more to life.
Yeah.
And so I did resist for a long time. And then I tried it out and I played the game and I got all the toys and I was successful. And I realized that it was just a distraction from what my heart was really, craving, what I was really desiring in my soul.
Right. Well, that's it. I want to talk to you all about that because, like I said, the whole transformation and who you kind of see, because you seem like to be, I mean, I don't know you, but you seem to be the antithesis of whatever that role represented. And it's ironic that you would be the one who gets that role and plays it out.
So perfect.
Right?
Though.
Isn't it,
At the
though?
same time, yeah.
Isn't it?
Life is that way.
Right? And then you had that role for so many years, and then how art imitates life or life imitates art. So when that started, like, how did that even come to be? Like, did you have an agent who put you up for it? Did you audition for it? Like, what was the whole thing? And then I want to like chronologically go through what's happened with your life.
Yeah. Well, I was broke as fuck. I don't know if I can say that here, but it's true. I was in Mexico in classic New York City hipster artist style, was going to make an independent documentary about Cuban hip hop. And I had $1,000 and I was intending to just make it work. And then I got this email, and this was back in the day. This is before cell phones and the whole thing. So I was going to the internet cafes and dial up the whole thing and waiting for the messages to load. And it was, there's this show called Entourage. And I was like, I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah, exactly.
But in no uncertain terms, my agent and the universe was saying, look, if you don't take this opportunity, eventually Hollywood's going to turn its back on you. If you say no enough, there's a million others just like you that will say yes.
Well, wait, was there other things that you turned down that I would know?
For years.
That
I was 28 years old.
I know.
And I had done things, but I was...
what did you turn down that I would know?
I mean, it was the list is long. I'd have to go back into the
name
records. One. I think it's like Soul Survivors. I was just like, I don't know why that comes to mind.
Oh, okay, I don't know that.
There was a rash of bad horror movies that were coming out.
Yeah,
and they were paying a lot of money for these. And I would just read the script and I'd be like, it's like I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
So, and the reality is, I wasn't trying to be famous. I wasn't trying to be a successful actor. I was just trying to, communicate something.
Right.
Share ideas through film. And I did a lot of bad indie films that I thought were cool as well. that turned out to be pretty shitty because, first, it's hard to make a film, and with low budgets and ambitious visionaries who have no experience and who are egomaniacs, a lot of times you're in some bad movies.
Right.
Good ideas that turn out badly.
Right. The execution wasn't there.
No, it was not there. And then sometimes you're in some really well-paid movies that turn out badly, but it doesn't matter because you got a paycheck.
Right.
So it's so I don't know. Anyway, long story short, I ended up recognizing that I needed to take this job in order to keep making a living.
Right.
So I had a moment of practical clarity, and I ended up saying yes to Entourage.
And then how many seasons was it anyway? Like
10 seasons.
10 seasons.
No, it was 8 seasons in a movie. So about 10 plus years of Entourage.
And then how was it while you were doing it, did you get along with the guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like you guys were all like,
we had such great chemistry as New Yorkers. We're all from the East Coast.
Right. That's right.
And that was one thing that really, I think, made the show work well, is our ability to feed off each other. Our chemistry was really just palpable, I think. We had that New York City edge, and and they're like brothers to me. Long lost brothers at this point. I'm in a totally different place right now in my life.
Do you guys keep in touch at all anymore? Or?
From time to time, a text or,
Yeah.
I just talked to Jerry about a month ago, and we caught up.
Right. And then are they still we'll get into that, like your whole life transformation. But so while you were doing it for so many seasons, were you already starting to kind of change how like just kind of like change into this new and improved version of you, or like were you
I mean, I'm still the same guy. I'm just putting my focus elsewhere.
But while you were, did you want to like, was there a point where you wanted to stop doing it but you couldn't because it was part of the, like, you're already kind of so far in, or?
Yeah, well, you do build a house of cards, you know, and you have to keep feeding the beast in order to keep it going, to keep up the illusion that, you know, a lot of careers and a lot of people's, I mean, this is not just Hollywood. It's our culture in general. A lot of our lifestyles are built up through scarcity. It's like, and like you need to accumulate more and more in order to feel safe, like you have that you can eat and you can pay rent and all the things that are coming up from year to year, and then also for social status, that you're going to be liked by your friends, or that you have a place in the world, that you're going to be accepted. And a lot of these are deep rooted psychological, emotional conditions that we're all built with because of the way our society is made. So yeah, I started climbing that ladder, and I started making more money, and then I started investing, and then I was a little mini real estate mogul, and then I thought I'd get into music too, and maybe I'd make a bunch of films, and then next thing you know, I'm spread so thin, I can't really truly be intimately involved in all the projects. So I just basically became a machine and detached from all the different parts. But in the name of more and more and more, and also ultimately just wanting to be accepted by the world, wanting to be liked, wanting to be successful, wanting to be, a man, like a strong, successful, powerful man.
Right.
So that's the trap I got into.
So how were you able to kind of get yourself out of the trap, right? Because you're now like super embedded into that trap.
Yeah, and by the way, I think it's a natural stage of development to be in that immature adolescent masculine mentality, you know, where it's all about the show.
Right.
It's all about me. It's very selfish. And it's all about putting on the king's hat and sitting in the throne, pretending like you're king, but without the deliverables, without actually being able to deliver on the leadership part. You know, it was a very selfish time in my life.
You know, you said a bunch of times, masculine, the word. Like, yeah. I feel that word super dominant in your vocabulary.
Yeah, because I feel like, if you look at my whole life, it's been a journey into becoming a man.
Right.
Growing up. You know, it's a rite of passage. It's like that.
Right, that arc.
That arc, yeah. The hero's journey into adult masculine, mature masculine. Because I resisted for so long and rejected having grown up with my mother and not having any truly positive, healthy male role models, just diving in and getting lost in my friends and what we could do and what we could create in the touchy-feely creative aspect, which is really just like, it's like chaos, like anything's possible. And then that that masculine part of me that was testosterone driven was destructive, and we were, rolling around in the city. Totally. As kids, we were terrors in the streets.
And also that was like the hottest show ever. I mean, it was like it was the most, I mean, everyone I know watched that show.
Well, yeah. So, and I was just predating that. And then you come to the show, and now you have success and fame and money.
Yeah.
That help to legitimize who you think you are.
Yeah. Who you should be for sure.
Right. So then you're just like, okay, I'm validated. More of that, please. Oh, applause. Yeah. Yes. So then you start feeling good about being, and misbehaving, about the bad behavior, because you almost get rewarded for it. And every time I'd go to a bar or a club or whatever, it's not 100%, a good percentage, 90% of the people in there would immediately give me approval. And then want me. And there's like this weird parasocial relationship that those fans have with me, and particularly Entourage, the way it was shot, it felt so personable, real, and authentic. It was almost documentary, that the fans felt like they were part of the crew. And so they would want you to be that character. So the more I accommodated, the more approval I got, the more accepted I got. And it's just a natural part of the human condition to want that kind of approval and acceptance.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, also it's interesting because what did you say? I think I heard you on I think it was maybe a podcast talking about like how you felt like a product because they would pay you money to go to clubs, right? And then they'd put you behind these like red ropes and like kind of like a zoo animal.
Well, we are products.
I mean, it's true. I mean,
and people are becoming more and more comfortable with that, which is a little scary.
That's what I think. I think that's, especially now we have social media and everything is about like selling yourself. We all are becoming we're all commodities, and like our worth is now based on our followers or what we seem to be, where our status seems to be in a very fictitious way. It's very disingenuous.
Well, it's a commercial way in which the goal is ultimately making money. Right. Or also the other commodity, which is attention. Yeah. Which is a very real... People... I think many people would rather the attention than the money.
I think you are right. I think you're absolutely...
Because you get that dopamine hit.
I know.
Yeah, and that's real. It's drugs.
It is drugs.
People are addicted to those things.
Absolutely. Did you get into drugs and alcohol when you were doing that whole thing, or you kind of were?
I mean, I've always been recreationally predisposed to escape. Yeah, for sure, but not to the point where you saw me on the news.
Yeah. It wasn't like it didn't overdo. It didn't kind of take over your life at all.
No. I think it was more like my relationship to sex and women that was the most maybe destructive.
And also, by the way, in LA, because you don't live here anymore, it's like you were like at like the press, like everybody wanted to be that person, and like people here at 40, 50, they're still doing that. Like that life is still exactly how it really is in real life here. I see it all the time.
Okay, so you've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so you know the scene where he goes into time travel and then ends up in the future, and then he sees himself laying in bed, and then he has this psychedelic experience where he's like looking at himself, and he's seen, you know, across the span of time and space. I've done that. Like I've seen people and I'm like, oh my God, that's me in 20 years? Fuck that. Like, no.
So true.
I mean, I've seen the guy who's like, you know, gray hair and he's like, you know, flying around in a private plane. He's got the, you know, all the models around him. And I was just like, you know, if I don't do something, that's going to be me.
100%.
And I was like, thank you, you know, God, for sending this, you know, vision to me, you know, to slap some sense into me.
Which kind of like says a lot about you, I think, right? Is because, you know, you had the foresight and you also have like depth, right? Because I see people who have just a little bit of money here and maybe no fame, but just money on itself. And then like, that's what their life is. They date girls who are 25 years younger, who are like barely legal. And they're like doing that, the private planes, the house, the this, that, and like they're such a vapid way of living. But you don't know what you don't know, right? And
no, we were trained in that.
Exactly.
You know, we were culturally, I mean, it's confusing, right? I mean, we're going to get deep on this, I guess. Yeah. But, you know, since liberal culture has been all about, you know, freedom of sex, freedom of body, freedom of, you know, drugs and all of the things that I grew up with that were, that's what you want. And it's also tied into making money and commercialism. You're just like, wait, I get all the escape, all the fun, all the indulgences, and I get paid for it. Who's not going to do that? So really right now, I think what we're seeing culturally is a wrestling with what we want, like what our ideals are, you know, what are our values as a society. Yes. And we take a lot of things for granted.
We take a lot. I mean, what's remarkable though is you kind of seem to like rise above it, and even though you were immersed in it and made a choice not to do it. That to me is amazing.
I appreciate that. You're being very kind.
That was the truth.
For me, it's not about rising above. It's about diving deep in.
Oh, right. Okay.
Going down, going into it. All the things like, fundamentally, what modern culture, what consumerist capitalist culture offers is an escape from the things that are real. Because a lot of times the things that are real are just like too painful to bear witness to and to face. So yeah, I mean, I think right now, vastly, we're craving as a culture something a little bit more real and tangible. We've been flying too high. We've been escaping too much, and on our phones and on social media and even like business and money and all of the things are taking us away from ourselves. And so I think we need a mass deepening into ourselves and into the earth.
Right.
Back to the earth, grounded.
So how did you start this process of kind of getting yourself, like, when did you move away from Los Angeles? Like,
so I never lived here technically.
Oh, I thought you lived
I was
here.
always in New York,
Oh.
But that came with its own ego. Like, I'm New York, man. I don't leave New York.
Yeah. I thought you lived here.
I was here a lot.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, but I kept my New York driver's license and my New York address up until recently, which is crazy because I still got my New York phone number, but for the first time I changed my driver's license. Now I have a Texas driver's license, which is strange.
Oh my.
Very strange.
So when did that whole thing happen? Like I saw that you like lived, I saw it on your show, the Earthspeed, Earthspeed.
Yeah.
You talked about how you lived in a camp, like legitimate, like a small camper for a year. Yeah. When did you decide to what was again, I'm like missing a big maybe a big time frame here, but so all that entourage stuff, living the life, doing all that, what was the next, tranche in your life?
It was a coming back down to earth, but with a thud. It's like Icarus flying, so you can touch the sun. And, I literally thought I was invincible. I could do anything and I was going to be able to taste all the fruit and survive. And it wasn't until I had a heartbreak, like a very serious heartbreak, that I was shaken to awareness.
What happened?
The girl I was dating decided that I was a piece of shit and that she had to dump me.
Okay, so like every other heartbreak.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, it's like pretty basic.
Pretty basic.
And guess what? She was right.
How long were you guys dating for?
We were dating for about 4 years.
Oh, okay.
And I'm already now in my 40s, and
you're 45 now?
I'm 45 now. Yeah. And then I see this guy, that guy on the airplane, the old guy, and I'm like, I just lost my girlfriend. How did I do that? Like, I thought we were going to now get into a relationship and have kids. And I had to take a really serious look at how I had gotten myself there. And that was first taking absolute 100% responsibility for my life.
Right. What year are we talking now that this happened?
This has got to be 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. Okay, so you're about 40 at this point. Okay, 40, yeah. Okay. And you were living in New York at this time?
Oh, yes. I was in the same routine.
Okay.
And her dumping me was the pattern disruption that I needed to realize that I had been asleep at the wheel for however long, 20 years. And I started to really take a hard look at, who I was, who I thought I was, and where I was, in which direction I was headed. And I had to really, first and foremost, the first layer of change for me was being able to take absolute 100% responsibility for absolutely everything, and saying that I can't change other people. The only person I can change is me.
Right.
So instead of blaming her, she just didn't get me, or she's crazy. You know, like all the the excuses you use to not look at yourself, I had to do away with. And then really start to take the scary look at the man in the mirror. And at that point I was like, okay, everything that's happened to me up until now is my fault. And what have I been doing? What are the bad habits and the patterns and the indulgences and so I had to basically clean house, purge, and go small and start from scratch. I mean, it was like Marie Kondo.
Marie Kondo. That's the one who does the
minimalism.
Minimalistic. Marie Kondo. Marie Kondo. We're both close enough.
Yeah, because when there's all this clutter in your soul and your heart, you don't know what's what. You know, you can be easily seduced back into a lifestyle and a pattern that isn't serving you because it's familiar. Yeah. I used to actually plan hits of dopamine. Like I saw the way I constructed my lifestyle, and I would have hits of dopamine scattered throughout the day, so that I would always get a little hit of fun or a little excitement, and my days were planned out that way.
Like what? Give me what a day would be like.
Well, it's like I had so many opportunities thrown at my feet too. It's like, hey, do you want to go to this party? Do you want to go, do you want to fly for this job and get paid to do it? Do you want to go to this amazing retreat event? Do you want to go to a gifting suite? Whatever it was. It was just constant, oh, wow, like this fun and excitement and newness. And so I had to just, and even, the mini mogul making, buying the house and then like parlaying that into another. And then I was going to like own my whole block. I was like, that was like what I was striving for.
At least that you were like, at least very entrepreneurial and smart. I mean, it wasn't like you were pissing away your money and something else. I mean, that's pretty good.
No, and here's the irony, like ultimately a nice guy, I love my mother, and I gave donations, I did environmental work. So there's that layer of excuse for all the other stuff, because you're like, oh, but I give to charity.
Exactly. And I love my mom.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, it's authentic, but also it was just a cover for the deeper work in which I love myself, in which I then can give of myself, sacrifice myself, not for what I want, but for the world, for others, for my unborn children one day, for future generations, not just lip service or a check you write, but like literally like every decision I make, my whole entire lifestyle is now built to serve versus just playing that role.
Wow. So the breakup was the catalyst for all of this major change. And where is this person now? Are you back together? Or where is she now? Do you guys speak?
Well, I spent 2 years trying to become the man that she wouldn't have left.
Right.
And once I was ready, I reapproached her, and it took me about a year to convince her that it wasn't just, rhetoric, but I actually meant it, and that I could live it, and that I could hold that line over time and not be shaken off my resolve.
And she took you back?
Yeah, we're back together. Yeah.
Oh, so the person you're with now is that same person?
Partner. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so we were together for 4, broke up for 2, and then got back together. And now we're a year and a half, almost 2 years back together. Mm-hmm.
Really? Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing! Actually, I wasn't expecting that outcome.
She's incredible. Yeah, and I'm lucky because they say the one that got away.
Yeah.
Well, I got her back.
You got her back. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You would have got away, but then you got her back.
Yeah.
So then, when you left so when did you live in this camper for a year? Was it before or
So just before COVID, and then it parlayed into COVID, and which was great because, I mean, say what you will about COVID, it was an incredible opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, it was. I think too.
come home and be with ourselves and learn to be alone and learn to face the uncomfortable reality of our own mortality.
Yeah.
And reinvent ourselves, right? So much reinvention.
There's been so much reinvention. I feel with like everybody, because people realize that life is short and they want to live more authentically, or they don't want to work for these corporate giants, or they don't want to do this. So there's been so much like change, I feel.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's also been you. So before all of that, then this whole transformation, I keep on saying that word. I don't mean to,
No,
but
I mean,
you know,
yeah.
It's pretty recent then.
Yeah, it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, but the work is ongoing, you know, and it took 2 years for me to get to a place where I was like, okay, I'm okay to step out in the world again.
Yeah.
And I feel confident and comfortable in my skin enough, even because when you take away all of the identity that gave you confidence, and made you feel comfortable in the world, and now you're like, who am I? You're just like walking around like a baby deer.
Yeah.
You're like barely just out of the womb, and you can't stand, and you have placenta all over your face. I'm very much learning to walk again, and and so I've just, for the past year and a half, and I'm again, it's a process, because I'm still learning myself, my new direction.
So so then what made you then live on a farm? And like, so you basically went from living in New York and all that stuff, and then now you got your lady back, and then you both end up buying a farm, becoming a is that what it's called? A permaculturist?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now you are a farmer, basically.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, if you track the allegory of Adrian, you know, when I was very young, my mom plucked me from all my family, my cousins, and the world that I knew at a very young age, nature in New Mexico, living in the desert, and brought me to the city, New York City, where I had to basically set like a sever of that connection to family and nature.
Right.
And then I had to learn to survive New York. And so this is really just a coming home and coming back to self, where I realized in order to survive New York, I had to put on all of these facades and like get tough in certain ways and get calloused in other ways, and as a protection, as a survival mechanism. And I didn't know that. I just thought I was cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I had this rock bottom moment that I could really look at myself and be like, oh, all of these things that I think I am, all of these patterns and habits aren't serving me. And I'm basically just playing to some master from, you know, that I don't even know. So I have to reorient my relationship to my higher self, like what I'm actually trying to accomplish. And that took a long time to re-author the story, and then to start to learn how to put that into motion, what that would look like. And really, ultimately, it came back to being in nature, grounded, and taking absolute responsibility for myself, and being able to take care of my family and use my life force to support my values, which are nature and humanity and, you know, community and all the things that are important.
So how did you start? Like, what made you think, okay, now I'm gonna get into this camp? Like, what was the mindset or your thought process of how to get it to start? Because sometimes the hardest part, the stop, is in the start, right? So how did you come to that realization?
No, I mean, it was just a long process, and I did a lot of different things to get there. And I'm still, I mean, for me, it's a spiritual pursuit, right? It's a spiritual pursuit. So you have to create ritual, create places you can go, sacred space, so that you can start to do this work. I mean, you know, in the Western culture, it's therapy once a week.
Right.
That's
basically
right. But can we build those rituals and that therapy into your whole entire lifestyle? Can you start surrounding yourself with people that not only want more for themselves, but also want more for you, so that now there's this feedback loop, this positive feedback loop amongst your peers. I used to hang out with people that they were playing small, right? Or women that would accept the worst of me just so they could hang out.
So that's right.
Nobody was like, bro, you are not, you're, it wasn't until my girlfriend was like, you're a piece of shit. It wasn't until somebody called me and it landed that I was able to be like, oh, this woman actually wants more from me. And she's wanting to elevate, as opposed, elevate me, elevate us. And then once we're able to rise up and be the better version of ourselves, then we can start to, help others to do the same.
Was she already involved in, was she already like someone who was interested in all of these different things that you got more involved with? Like, what was she doing? What was her background? Was she an actress?
She's an oracle. She's like intuitive, right? I think there was no formal, it wasn't an intellectual thing. It was a passion thing. But I think all women, if I may, have this power. And if we listen to women more, we'd probably be better as men.
Right. If it's to your point, what you said earlier, a lot of people just accept what's given to them, right? Because they just want to be around versus really being confident or believe in themselves to want more, to expect more, to go for more. I think that's a real big issue with a lot of women. Yeah.
Well, and I think women have grown to accept less.
Yes.
Because they just, they can't beg enough. They can't force enough. And they're just.
It's easier.
Right. And I see that pattern with my mom and my grandmother and what they went through, even my great grandmother. They had to deal with and survive, a lot of very shallow and destructive masculine relationships. So they're, and that gets passed down. You're like, oh, honey, that's just the way it is. Men will be dogs, like that kind of mentality. Totally. And so you just are conditioned to accept the worst. And then men, take that and get away with it.
Yeah, and run with it.
They take advantage of that. So until we break that pattern, and it's like ultimately, like if you think about women as, essentially the creators of life, like they bring life from nothing into the world, right? And so as men, like I this is something I had to learn because, I love my mommy, right? I love my mommy. What the fuck does that mean? Like in order to really truly love the mother archetype, it's like, how can I serve that? And I didn't realize that because to me, it was all about sucking my thumb or nursing. It was about comfort in mommy. It wasn't about, hey, I'm going to actually step up and condition myself and learn the skills so that I can actually protect my partner and support her in what she needs. And only women know what they need. And they will tell you so that they can create the safe place that they can actually manifest life.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's magic right there.
It is magic, actually, now that you say it like that. It's true, right? So let's get back to this whole farming situation. So again, what does that have? Is that your way of getting grounded and kind of like going back to your roots?
It's one and the same to me.
So what, you bought a piece of land? Family,
we are emergent from nature. Yes. We're all connected. My life force is to protect and to support, the life coming into the world.
Are you having kids?
I'm so down.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just
in time.
Okay. Sorry.
So creating food that is for our sustenance, and doing it naturally and organically without pesticides and herbicides, like our culture has been conditioned to do for profit motives. And as an environmentalist, I'm always like, hey, no pesticides, no GMO, organic. But it's all just, through slogans or campaigns. But I have no idea what it takes to actually grow something. And now that I'm actually on the land and I'm farming, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh man, if I just had some herbicide right now, what I would do for some pest control.
Right.
And I want to like immediately go for the easy, solution. So I have so much more empathy and respect for farmers and those who are actually doing that work, because it's hard. It's hard. so challenging.
Are you legit like on there, like doing the farming every day?
I'm learning.
Like all day?
I mean, it's been winter, so things have been asleep, thank goodness, because it's been a nice respite, but it's springtime now, and I'm like a little anxious that I'm here in LA because I need to be out there doing some stuff. But
do you have people helping you there, or just you? I'm
taking my time to ramp up into this. I don't claim to be a professional farmer. I'm an apprentice.
Okay.
But again, I want to develop the skills. I want to have the capacity to be able to grow my own food so that I can.
Right.
And of course, if you look at what happened with COVID and the reality check that was, is like, oh, you take all this, centralized food distribution for granted. Things are just going to show up at your door. But when that gets disrupted, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to survive? So, yeah, I need to hone those skills and become an expert, at least competent.
Okay, that's true. Competent. Does your girlfriend help you with this? Does she also farm?
Yeah,
and all
she's studying Chinese medicine and herbalism, and so she'll be the medicine queen of the land.
And then is that like, I saw something that you wanted to like also have community or like have other people on the land with you. Yeah. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So I mean, look, we have big ideas, big ambitions, and it comes down to, what do we really want? Like, we want to be with people we love, with community. We want to feel seen, like acceptance and acknowledgement with those that reflect your values. And you want people to help you, right? Yeah. So that way you don't have to outsource everything and, write checks and pay for everything. Right. You can actually, I don't have the ego of saying I'm going to be the master farmer and I'm going to do it all myself by myself. No, it takes a village, right? So bringing people together so that we can all support each other in co-creating this lifestyle, which is close to nature, heart-centered, communal, supportive, and non-GMO and organic and
all that other stuff.
And all the other stuff, and family, right? And then caretaking. Right? It's like, if you have babies, the only people who can afford to have babies are those that have the money, or, you're not going to be present for your kids because you're working 10 jobs, right?
100%. Have you heard of what a kibbutz is? Okay. So it's kind of like that.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? Have you ever been on one or lived on one in Israel?
No, but I've read about it. I mean, I have a document of all the different communal living models that exist, and we're just diving into what's possible. And now with technology being what it is, where we can actually network, with other like-minded communities that aren't necessarily neighbors, but they're neighbors of spirit and neighbors of the heart. There's so much potential of what we can do and build, not only immediately where we live, but also with others around the world.
Right.
So we're looking at the metaverse and NFTs and the blockchain to start to build what communities of the future look like. Like imagining just decentralized hubs of cohesion across the world. I mean, I think you look at the way our world is headed, borders, we used to have a shared identity of the United States of America because we lived within certain boundaries, sort of territorial boundaries. But that's sort of breaking apart with the internet, because now you can connect with everybody else and you barely know your neighbors, right? So how can we utilize that so we can start coming together ideologically, spiritually, and all do what we need to do hyper locally, so that we're not reliant on these centralized systems that really don't have our best interest at heart, but really are looking to be as efficient as possible and the most profitable.
Right. That actually makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of, and then when you did this, the thing with Earthspeed then, is it basically just shining a light on this and trying to find people who are like-minded or entrepreneurial or people, well, do tell us, what is Earthspeed?
So Earthspeed is my, continuing to be in communication, in creativity, film, and using technology to share what we're doing, essentially. So Earthspeed is a lifestyle in the cadence of nature. So it's a lifestyle brand. Yeah. Really. It's like, how can we live a healthy, earth connected lifestyle and learn the skills so that we can be sovereign and competent within our own skin, within our own communities? How do we share the tools and the methods to actually survive in the coming world, and highlighting entrepreneurs who are building businesses that will scale those ideas out in the world?
Is that why you started a venture fund though too?
Yes.
Right? And there's like 4 pillars of the venture. What's it called? It's called the Contra Ventures, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you something actually about you were mentioning the NFTs and all that, but that's kind of part of what this whole thing is about, right? Like not relying on just like everything's going to be done in a more, in this more new digital way.
For me, it's about blending technologies, both ancient and new, to create a more connected life. It's not about escaping into technology and just, leaving this place.
Right.
Being, with your what do they call
virtual goggle or virtual
VR,
reality.
VR goggles. But it's about using that technology to bring us closer to each other and bring us down to earth. So yes, we want to share and open source everything. And that's one great thing about blockchain, right? And Bitcoin is it's all very transparent and open source.
Right, it's open source, yeah.
So everybody has eyes on it. Everybody can utilize it. There's no gatekeepers, no middlemen siphoning off pieces.
Right.
It's direct action with one another. We can use those tools to start sharing wisdom, sharing practical applications, how-to videos. I mean, I can't tell you how much I've learned from YouTube.
Yeah, I can. Right? Well, you know what? I had a guy on who was an expert in NFTs and all this stuff, and he was telling me that, which I thought was fascinating. People are like unaware of the community piece of the Bitcoin blockchain world there is. Like like everything is very, and it doesn't really make much sense to me completely yet, but how it's so much about building these communities and like this honesty and authenticity amongst the communities.
Yes.
That is so interesting to me. I didn't understand that.
Yeah. And it's ideologically driven.
Yeah.
People they mean it.
They
believe it.
Yes.
And what I see is, people are making a lot of money just because it's inflated, because it's exciting and new. But really why people are doing it is because what people are going to be able to create is going to be unheard of, like never before seen. I have just a whole, like my friend group are now farmers and, psychedelic crypto, pirates,
Yeah, that's so different than what you're probably used to, right?
It is so cool because we get to be as creative as we always wanted to be. But now we're not just creating for, the movie screen.
right.
or the television screen. We're creating for something that's going to actually be tangible in real life. It's the greatest story we could tell is the one of our own life.
So does that mean you do have any? I know that everyone's making their own NFTs. Do you have an NFT or no?
I mean, I've dabbled. I've done some, yeah, but they're just like one-offs, just experiments.
Yeah.
But really, what I'm looking to do is bridge the gap between homesteading, living sovereignly on the land,
right,
within community, and then being able to interface with the world at large. So I'm not, I'm just learning exactly what that looks like. And there's so much innovation, and who knows? One thing we're looking at is creating our own coin. So within our ecosystem, we can trade using our own currency. So we're actually raising the value of what we're doing on the land.
Who's we, by the way?
Our community.
Oh, your community. Yeah. Okay. Because you started this fund that how did that, what made you, how much is the fund worth? Are you actually putting money into these different companies?
Right. So we should talk a little bit about Contra.
Yeah.
I don't know what our timeline is, but.
You tell me, you're the guest. Okay. I mean, I have no idea how long we've been going for.
You guys are at almost 45 after.
Okay. Just as long as you're fine.
Well, we'll just touch on Contra briefly, because that's important.
It is very important, especially for, my audience.
Oh, yeah. Entrepreneur, right? Okay.
Yes, they would like to know about Contra for sure.
Yeah. I feel like entrepreneurs are all in a rite of passage with themselves, though. It's like such a vital creative impulse to be inventive.
Right.
So I've started businesses, I've invested, I've started nonprofits, I've done a lot of different types of business work. And recently I wanted to formalize my investments and my desire to help the world. So started an impact fund called Contra. And it basically took all of the deal flow that I had, all the opportunities I had as a UN environment ambassador. I meet a lot of people who want me to be a part of their projects that are trying to change the world for the better. I meet a lot of people who are building businesses that want me to be on their cap table. So I was able to bring those together in the fund and define our sort of our worldview through the fund.
Right.
So we're investing through 4 verticals.
Yeah.
One is human flourishing, which is the up-leveling of the individual. So supporting people and entrepreneurs, everyday humans in their betterment. So health, wellness, mental health, anything to actually support individuals to be more competent and sovereign, as I was saying. Communitas, right? How do we bring people together? The thing that makes humans different is not that we're survival of the fittest and that we compete with each other. It's actually that we collaborate so well, that we can actually work together to achieve abstract ideas that we can communicate through language and then go build it, and go make it so, manifest it. So creating tools of community, collaboration, bringing people together. The future of finance is another vertical in which we're investing in financial tools of the future, instruments for more equity, more access, Bitcoin platforms, other kinds of tools that will give more people access to the world's wealth, so that when they are leveled up as individuals, when they decide to work together, they can use the tools of money to go out and actually build something.
Yeah.
So get them finance, get them flush. And then finally, consumer. What are we consuming and how? So better for you consumer goods, better for the planet, innovations in what we're consuming and how.
So how long have you had this fund for?
So we're building it now. I've been investing through Contra for a couple of years. We had a smaller fund, about 12 million, and we had a lot of success. So we decided to raise a bigger fund at 150.
So this was 150 million fund.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. So what companies have you already been investing in, or have you invested in, I should say? Any that I would know of?
Yes. So Right now, we haven't deployed out of the second fund.
Yeah.
So
it's just for the first 12 million fund.
yes. So Blue Land is one of our portfolio companies, and they do cleaning products for the home, zero plastic, all natural. They send compressed detergent, essentially, that you reconstitute in water. So they're not shipping around water, and so it cuts down on, carbon emissions.
Yeah.
And it's right to your door, so it's direct to consumer. Awesome company, highly recommend.
Where do you get that?
It's online, and they'll send you hand soaps and table cleaners and Blue Land. Yeah.
Maybe you'll send me a little bit of samples of that.
I'm sure they would love to.
I have Blue Lands. Okay.
Yeah. Just Eggs.
Oh, I like that.
They're incredible.
That's one of yours?
Well, I mean, we're
I'm saying that's one of yours. I didn't know that.
Part of the team. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So at what level, I'm just writing this down because I actually like that company.
So these have been all pretty early stage.
I was going to say, how early stage are you?
Our next fund will be later stage, follow-on growth fund.
So this is an area, again, I didn't think that you were, like, even when you were saying earlier, like, you do all this, like, real estate investing, and, like, you were doing all this. So you were kind of your brain is already was already this way. Like, you're very entrepreneurial, obviously. And you're just now directing it in a very specific area.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I see it, again, it's a creative impulse. Like, I get to tell the story of, the greatest way that I can express my creativity is by telling the story of our lives through the businesses that I invest in.
Yeah.
So every business is a plot point, a story point.
Yeah.
About what's possible, what we can create. Because you look out in the world and you take it for granted. You think it's inevitable. It's not. It's just the businesses that have succeeded, and they define our lifestyle. Mm-hmm. They define how we see ourselves. Bill Gates, like, okay, who's next? Who's a more grounded, more spiritually aligned, entrepreneur that we can look up to, that we can idolize?
Yeah, that's amazing. So when did these guys, like, for example, Just Eggs or Blue Lands, at what stage did they come to you? Did they already have friends and family? Were they already making a certain revenue a year? What was the...
I mean, different businesses, different stages, different ways of getting into the deal. So it's, I mean, I have to just go through each one, I guess.
Well, name me a couple other ones that I would know.
Seeds investor, like we were just talking about. Seeds?
The probiotic?
No.
Oh.
No. This is this is a little bit more behind the scenes. These are financial tools for financial advisors to help their clients invest more sustainably.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that one.
Right.
And these are all doing they're doing well?
They're doing very well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what kind of made you think, okay, I want to expand the fund? You're looking out more things. Is this an area that you enjoy? Do you have a partner in it? Who's helping you with this?
So Manuzzi is my partner in Contra.
Oh, okay.
She's awesome. She just had a baby. Shout out to
Shout out.
her, to
Congratulations.
the moms of the world. And she's been on maternity leave. But I'll see her tomorrow and I'll get to meet the baby.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
congratulations.
She's awesome. Immigrant from Brazil, powerful ass female leader, and she's awesome.
That's great. So you guys are do you guys have a team? Just the two of you, or just?
Yeah, so we do have a team as well. Bob's really, I'd say she's the brains of the operation. And
what are you, the brawn?
No, I'm more the visionary.
The visionary.
Yeah, okay. I'm more the creative type.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why I'm focusing a lot on Earthspeed as our communications arm.
Yeah.
To be able to share what we're doing and communicate our investments and highlight our entrepreneurs and our investors and tie it into a larger vision for what's possible on an individual lifestyle level and then also a global potential.
So are you going to be now kind of steering away from like Hollywood movies and being kind of
you
more...
got a part?
I might actually.
You know,
I actually might. No, I'm joking.
As long as it's aligned with my mission, yeah.
You know, because I did see, funnily enough, I did see on Netflix Clickbait.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw your face on it. And of course, because I knew you were coming on the podcast, I had to watch some of it.
Good film.
Yeah. First of all, I was not expecting that because after everything I've been reading about you, I wasn't expecting to see that. But it was actually, you weren't in it that much, but it was good. You were like, I think I liked you in Devil Wear Prada. Like I liked you in a lot of these things. So you're still doing it then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm open to it. I'm a busy guy, so it's got to be the right move.
So how did that happen? Did they call you at whoever and like, hey, we have a butt apart for you? Or did you?
Yeah, it's not, you know.
Yeah. So it's still happening.
I have an agent.
Yeah, I know. You're still kind of an actor though, right? Like I feel like I think I'm forgetting a little bit that you still have that as a part of you. You're not just one thing. You could be many things.
I can. Yes.
Yeah.
So call me if you have a project.
I might.
Send me your script.
Yeah.
Actually, please don't.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, my dentist has a script. Do you think you can take
really?
a look?
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you like living in Texas then?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you like it? Do you like it more than you thought you would, or like?
I'm surprised.
So different than New York.
I mean, the fact that I have a Texas driver's license
it's crazy.
I'm living, and I wake up and I have to deal with chickens and dirt all day long. It's interesting because I never thought that I could. I thought I was going to die in Brooklyn.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I still might. You know, who knows?
Right.
But
This could be a phase, really.
Yeah, but I don't think so. I just love waking up and being in nature and just being able to breathe and get into the rhythm of the earth. Right.
What is your daily habit? Like, what's the day in the life of you now? Like, what do you do? What time do you wake up with the chickens, I guess, or the rooster?
Yeah, I mean, it's chickens and seed starts and mending fences. And
at what time do you wake up, though?
6:30, 7.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's been, kind of cozy in the winter. There hasn't been a lot of demand just because things have been sleeping.
Right. Are you traveling now a little bit more with everything opening?
Yeah. And I don't know how that's going to look, but I'll just tell you, highly recommend everyone getting their permaculture certification because not only is it's basically a systems design principle that you can apply to the earth or gardening or farming, but you can also apply it to every aspect of your life, and it's just highly recommend. And it's 6 weeks later you have your certification, and it's mind blowing and really helpful frame for living.
What does it teach you?
Well, what I was going to mention is the first principle of permaculture is to observe and interact.
Okay.
So it doesn't want you to go impose your will, your ego on the land.
Okay.
So it actually wants you to observe and get a sense of what the natural rhythms, the natural flows of nature are, not just in a moment, but throughout the seasons, over time. So ideally, and not everybody has this luxury, but ideally you just take your time so you get to know the earth, and it speaks to you and it tells you what it wants.
Okay.
So that you're not like, well, I'm going to put a big building right there and concrete across there, and then GMOs and a bunch of corn and monocrop, because that's been our mentality. We want to dominate nature. We want to control it. In permaculture, we want to live in harmony with it. So first you have to get to know it. It's like dating. Get to know it. You don't want to jump in the hay right away.
Right. Unless you're, an Entourage star, and that happens all the time. But yeah, I get your point.
Right. So that being said, the projects that we have undertaken thus far are very small. And as we continue to live and grow, we will start to take on more over time. Okay,
what's the second and third principle of permaculture? You said the first is observe.
There's 12 of them. We can really get into it. I mean, obtain a yield, embrace slow and small solutions, embrace change creatively, utilize the margins and maximize your edges.
Okay.
So few principles, and use sustainable or regenerative energy.
And so you think everyone should, what happens if they can't use it? You think they should still get this and 100%, just have it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because it'll just change the way you see the world and
your
the
perspective.
Way absolutely. Even if you're building a business.
Yeah.
I mean, especially businesses of the future.
That's true, actually.
Through Contra, we're looking for regenerative businesses.
Absolutely.
Businesses that are not just hyper-focused on turning a dollar, and who cares what the environmental cost is.
Absolutely.
We want businesses that are actually going to be good for the planet, good for humanity at large, and gives a return as the byproduct.
Yeah.
Like financial return is the waste product.
Absolutely. That's true. What else do I have to ask you? I mean, is there anything I kind of forgot?
No, but I feel like we've, what time is it?
I don't know. We're going to wrap this up right now. So, Adrian, you've been a delight. I'm so happy that you came on this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're great. And I just learned so much more about you, and actually very interesting things that I never thought of that you were involved with. So where do people find more information about your stuff, your Earthspeed?
Yeah,
it's on YouTube.
Please do check out Earthspeed. We're on YouTube and also Instagram. Just building up right now, doing it permaculture style, slow and steady. And so my hopes are that, when people go see Earthspeed, they can learn a little bit for themselves how they can be more self-sufficient and be more in connection with the earth and live a lifestyle in the cadence of nature. So as we grow, we're going to have guests, and we're going to have speakers, and we're going to have correspondence from nature. And so check it out. And then also Contra is our investment company as well. So you can check out Contra.Ventures or at Contra.Ventures on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, you have an Instagram account for that too. Wow.
Yes, we do.
Good for you. Well, thank you. And now we're going to go do another part 2. We're going to do Cooking with Cohen. So I know he's probably like, what are we doing? But thank you. No, seriously, thanks for being on the podcast.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Habits and hustle, time to get it rolling. Stay up on the grind, don't stop, keep it going. Habits and hustle, from nothing into something. All out, hosted by Jennifer Cohen. Visionaries, tune in, you can get to know them. Be inspired, this is your moment. Excuses, we ain't having that. The Habits and Hustle podcast, powered by Habit Nest.